Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no. If you are a fan of Descendants and Zombies, I would just simply like to say thank you so much for how much love and support you have shown Kylie Cantrell, that you've given to Freya Sky, that you've shown your favorite stars that have made you a fan of Descendants and Zombies. Whatever the reason is you found my YouTube channel, perhaps you were YouTubing Descendants and Zombies tonight and you found this video and you wanted to see a guy talk about Descendants and Zombies with a greater appreciation for it, then I think this could be the YouTube channel for you. And I promise you that if you give me a chance over at least the next, 20 minutes, and you're saying to yourself, hey Jonathan Clarke, 20 minutes is a really long time. I don't got 20 minutes. Well, I'm going to try to do what I can to help you make sense of Descendants and Zombies, because I know you've got a lot of unanswered questions. You're probably wondering when Descendants 5 Wonderland is going to come out, and you're probably saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, time's ticking, hurry up. I don't really know when Descendants 5 Wonderland is coming out. I wish I had the answers to these questions, and the reason why I don't have the answers to these questions is because I'm a fan just like each and every one of you. And you're saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, well, at least you're genuine and you're an honest guy. Yeah, I really wish I had the answers to these questions, but I remember being a fan of Descendants and Zombies just like you. Over 10 years ago, I was sitting at home on July 31st, 2015. I had seen the premiere of the Bunk TV series. I thought Bunk was great, with Debbie Ryan, of course, leaving the franchise Jesse behind, and then Peyton List and Cameron Boyce doing a wonderful job bringing it back to life for every fan of the original Jesse TV series. Everybody remembers Jesse. And on that same night, we saw the premiere of Disney's Descendants. And little did I know that it would be a franchise that was going to change my life so significantly and leave a forever imprint on my heart. Because I got to meet each and every one of you. And I got to share with you my thoughts on a franchise that we would grow up together watching, that we would know and love, and become familiarized with all these wonderful characters that were so full of life and creative energy. I mean, what more needs to be said about a superstar like Kylie Cantrell? She has contributed so much to Disney. She's loved Disney for forever, ever since at least the age of 9 years old. I mean, I remember the first time that I got Disney Channel over about, dare I say, 20 years ago. And I remember it was an era where Disney was prided itself on traditional animation. So, of course, if The Lion King was a success, if Aladdin was a success, they would create an animated TV series off of it. There wasn't much of live-action TV shows happening for Disney in that era until at least 2003, 2004, when Hannah Montana and Wizards became so big, really huge for Disney, and Disney really crossed over from animation into live-action TV shows and franchises such as High School Musical, which is revered and been celebrated so many times over at least the last 20 years. And now after 15 years of seeing so much success for Disney Channel's Hannah Montana and High School Musical, here comes Descendants from out of nowhere. We didn't know really quite what to make of the story of the VK kids and the AKs, but the thing is, these kids went on to serve a purpose. They went on to showcase a greater appreciation for the characters that had made them into the people they are today, because of course we drew inspiration for these characters through Maleficent, we drew inspiration through Cruella de Vil. So many wonderful characters were represented through these VK kids, and I think Kylie Cantrell did a wonderful job, portraying this character Red and really bringing her to life. I think this was an opportunity she really wanted to seize. And I know people felt very differently about Kylie Cantrell and how she got the job done and how she really came through, because nobody was really expecting Kylie Cantrell to do as phenomenal of a job as what she did. But I had high expectations for Kylie Cantrell, and if I was going to say anything nice at all, I was going to say it about Kylie Cantrell. And I think that because it had everything to do with how much I believed in her, how much you guys believed in her, the feeling was really mutual. So if I was going to say anything at all, it was going to be something nice, not just about Kylie Cantrell, but about Ruby Rose Turner, because for those of you who have been subscribed to this YouTube channel, if there's one thing you've known about me, is I've had the biggest crush in the world on Ruby Rose Turner. And the more that I think about it, who hasn't had a huge crush on Ruby? Everybody's had a huge crush on Ruby for what feels like forever. Even our co-stars have had the biggest crushes in the world. Guys have had crushes on Ruby for forever. I don't stand a chance. But one thing I've always wanted Ruby to know is that she did a fabulous job with the Descendants franchise, no matter if her time was short-lived or not, regardless of how people felt about the character Bridget. What am I saying? Everybody loved Bridget. Everybody loved Bridget so much that Bridget went on to become their favorite character because of how bubbly she was and how appreciative she was of life. That's the one thing that was so outstanding about about Ruby was that that character was so appreciative of life, and she really gave that character meaning. Because you could have anybody play the character Bridget, but could they have done it as effectively as what Ruby did, or as powerfully as what Ruby did? Because I never saw anybody believe in her character as much as what Ruby did. And from the very first moment I saw Ruby at the age of 12, I knew she was going to go on to become a legend. I knew she was going to become a superstar, and I really believed in her talent and her potential. I saw potential in these stars, and one of the reasons why I'm one of the most revered Disney reviewers of all time, because of each and every one of you, I can't forget to mention that, is because I see potential in these stars, and I can review these stars in a way that nobody else ever could, and I can also have a greater appreciation for every story that I've ever been a fan of, no matter if it's Peter Pan, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Beauty and the Beast, even The Little Mermaid. I've watched The Little Mermaid over 1,000 times because it had everything to do with how beautiful of a voice Jodie Benson contributed to the character Ariel. I also loved how Ariel had red hair, and she was one of the most beautiful mermaids that I'd ever seen in my life. And I've had a greater appreciation for mermaids, which is why it's no issue for me to sit here and talk about Descendants and Zombies in over 700 videos that I would go on to upload on this YouTube channel. I really do believe that mermaids are some of the most beautiful fantasy characters ever talked about or discussed in any conversation, and I wish there were more opportunities to have these conversations about mermaids. It's only now that we're hearing more conversation and more talk about mermaids because of how they're going to have a role in the next Zombies movie. And by the way, guys, if you want to know if there's going to be a new Zombies movie, there's going to be a new Zombies movie. I don't know why critics are making you guys feel the way they are about it. They really suck. I think that if you believe that Zombies 5 is going to happen, then you should continue on believing in that, because we still have a long way to go. And we have so much to be excited about when it comes to the Zombies franchise. We have a beautiful love story, for one thing, to look forward to for Freya Skye and Malachi Burton. I say this because I know Malachi Burton was on a show called Villains of Valley View years ago. I tried to watch that show. I got into it really quickly because I appreciated every character on that show and what Malachi offered to it. So I knew undeniably he was going to go on to be something special because of his contributions to that show and beyond. And of course, it would be in the form of zombies. And I think he's going to do a fabulous job taking over the responsibilities of Milo Manheim's character Zed. Now, unquestionably, Zed will forever and always hold a special place in every girl's heart because, of course, every girl out there has had a crush on Zed for forever. But I think we're going to go on to love the story of Freya Skye and Malachi Burton's characters Victor and Nova just as much as we did Zed and Addison over the last 7 years. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Zed and Addison held a very special place in my heart for how their story was told. Because you can have any two characters trying to tell a love story, but it's about how effectively you can tell that love story and tell it every single time and never get bored or never get tired of hearing that same love story. That's why Noah and Allie's love story from The Notebook or Bella Swan and Edward Cullen's love story from Twilight have been so revered, because you never got tired of hearing or watching that same story all the time. I remember how crazy everybody was about Teen Wolf and The Vampire Diaries. And yeah, I've been around for a very long time. But I also remember when Star Wars came out in 1977. You guys are going to have to cut me some slack, because I remember in 1997, Star Wars was one of the first blockbusters of all time. In that same 2-year period, Star Wars came out and Jaws came out from 1973 to 1977. And they were blockbusters, which means that if you were going to a movie, you had to go early, at least before 1 o'clock, because the street would be lined up with people trying to get a ticket to Star Wars, to the galaxy and beyond. I've been a part of so many wonderful experiences, and I really wish that the term blockbuster was still used for movies, because I really believe that if this would have happened 30 years ago, let's say Descendants would have came out 30 years ago, and Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner would have been a part of our lives, I think that Descendants would have been associated with the term blockbuster, and people would have came from everywhere to watch this. You know, guys, the same thing that used to happen 30 years ago still happens to this very day, because I just went to the SpongeBob SquarePants, The Search for SquarePants movie the other day, and Avatar, and for both premieres, people were coming from over hours away just to see Avatar and SpongeBob SquarePants, and they were of all different age demographics. So it never really matters to your, age, you got to be a certain age to watch Descendants and Zombies, because I think every age demographic has been touched by Descendants and Zombies in some capacity, no matter who you are or for whatever reason you found my channel or are watching any of my videos. I think it doesn't matter really what your age is or what your reason is why you're a fan of Descendants and Zombies. You just think Descendants and Zombies is cool, because as far as I'm concerned, it's Descendants and Zombies or die now. It's Descendants and Zombies or bust. or go away, because I really believe that it's really touched our hearts in so many unbelievable ways. And the most amazing thing about Descendants of Zombies is we never cease to smile every single time that we watch this, because of a favorite character we may have, the Descendants of Zombies merch, how we draw inspiration from the beautiful story, because it never ceases to be a beautiful story. Now, I know there are people out there that will go as far to say that, oh, well, Descendants wasn't that great of a show, but that's because they don't really know that much about it. They don't have a greater appreciation for it. They don't look up fun facts about Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner every single night to record a video for each and every one of you. What am I saying? I never ever think about what I'm going to say on every video, but it has a lot to do with how I've got this photographic memory. So when I was in high school, I used to know the answers to every question before the teacher would even ask the student to give her the answer. So I'd be in the back of the class going, "Oh, pick me, pick me!" And when she finally would, I would stand up and say, "Yes, she picked me," and then I would say the answer. It's all about how much you appreciate franchises and how much you believed in them. And I have forever and always believed in these franchises just as much as each and every one of you. And a lot of that has to do with how I've never wanted to say goodbye to any franchises, because I believed that every franchise that's ever been a part of our lives, no matter what way they came into our lives and how they've been represented and how their stories were told, should have a chance at least even once of lasting for forever. Because even though forever does not exist, everybody out there deserves to believe in forever at least once in their lifetime for whatever reason they want to believe into forever. If you have a belief or a chance that you want to take for Descendants of Zombies that you want to share with each and every one of us, then I think you should continue to believe in having that chance taken on Descendants of Zombies, because this story is far from over and we still have a long way to go. And that may be coming from me because I've had a greater appreciation for theater for years, and I've had a hand in so many stage productions, from Beauty and the Beast to Phantom of the Opera, which was a really terrifying time in my lifetime because I actually fell down to the stage. The scary thing about it was I wasn't even the Phantom of the Opera that night. I just had to go up and, fix the smoke machine, and ended up falling down through the stage. Next thing I knew, I was in a really desperate situation. But I always had a greater appreciation for theater. Some way or somehow, every single day after school, I was that one guy in the theater room that always had a greater appreciation for fairy tales and the way you told stories. Because you can look at the Beauty and the Beast story as a way that the Beast treated Belle unfairly, but did you really understand the greater appreciation of how that love story came to be? It was about how the Beast had to learn to accept himself for who he was, and the person he was inside that really mattered outside of what he saw every single time that he looked in the mirror. The story was never really about how he treated Belle, because so many people criticize the Beauty and the Beast story for how the Beast treated Belle unfairly and this or that. I never ever believed in that. I just thought it was a beautiful story. It was represented phenomenally with the music. I never ever wanted to look at it the same way that every reviewer did, because the only reason they look at it that way is because they want to get reactions out of each and every one of you who may be a fan of something like Descendants or Zombies. And I have this to say to each and every one of you. Whatever you're a fan of, for whatever reasons you have, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You just have to continue to follow your passions, because why you love franchises like Descendants of Zombies has everything to do with your passions. And I want you guys to continue to follow it, along with having a greater appreciation for every character that's been a part of your life for whatever reason they've been a part of it. Many of you are fans of Tangled and Phineas and Ferb. I know. That's a really cool show. I mean, who out there isn't a fan of Phineas and Ferb, and who doesn't want to build a roller coaster in the backyard for years? Come to think of it, I've tried to get a contractor to help me build a roller coaster in my backyard. I haven't really gotten around to doing it yet. It looks quite fun. But that's how we draw inspiration from these shows, is that, we see something cool. We think about ourselves being involved in these situations, how their situations seem similar to our own. And that's how we relate to this story. And that's why I think that people like Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner have been treated so unfairly by these critics and been looked at in, a negative spotlight more than anything else in the world for far long enough. And it's about time somebody showed up on YouTube with that same greater appreciation in his heart for each and every one of you and why you love these franchises. I just don't know everything about Descendants of Zombies. I had to study it for years, and I came away with a greater appreciation for it. While so many people thought that Descendants of Zombies may have been stupid, I get that too, I saw the potential that existed in the hearts of everybody who ever was a fan of Descendants of Zombies. Everybody's reason for being a fan of these franchises is different. Everybody obviously wanted to be a part of the Worlds Collide Tour because you wanted to have the time of your life. and many of you did. I know in every crowd there was a critic, there was more than one, who went home on their YouTube channel and recorded reviews that never made any sense to anybody about the quality of the merch, the high ticket prices. I get it. How when you got in those cheap seats, you thought the quality control looked like the smallest thing ever. Obviously, you should have beat out the box office and got there earlier, because I used to remember lining up for concert tickets years ago, and somewhere, somehow, I always used to get the best seats in the house. But that's how we used to do it years ago. When a concert like the Worlds Collide Tour used to show up in our town, we'd have to line up like 3 o'clock in the morning, and probably many of you did. Probably many of you camped out for Descendants of Zombies tickets, but I hope the critics, every critic in the crowd at the Worlds Collide Tour got in the cheap seats and couldn't see quality control, because the critics didn't deserve to upload videos the way that they did. I say this because I have forever and always wanted to support each and every one of you. And I've always wanted to be your favorite YouTuber. I've always wanted to be that guy that came away in every video that he ever uploaded with a greater appreciation for your favorite stars. And I know I've had the biggest crush in the world on Ruby and seemingly Kali for forever, but that's what makes these videos so cool. And I don't think Ruby Rose Turner would ever want anything to do with me, to be honest with each and every one of you. But the thing is, I see how genuine Ruby is. I see how cool of a person Ruby is, and I just wanted to, if I was going to say anything about people like Kylie and Ruby, I was going to say something nice, because I believed in them just as much as I believed in each and every one of you for being fans. Thank you so much for being a fan of Descendants of Zombies for however long you've been a fan of Descendants of Zombies, because there truly is nothing wrong with ever having been a fan of these franchises. And if there's one thing that I want you to run away with from every video that I've ever uploaded, is that there's nothing wrong with being a fan of Descendants of Zombies, and you are all right by every other fan of Descendants of Zombies who is your best friend. Because everybody is the best of friends now because of Descendants of Zombies. If there's one thing that these franchises, along with emphasizing on how acceptance and how friendship is truly valued in this lifetime, that Descendants of Zombies has succeeded with putting a greater emphasis and appreciation on for, is that Descendants of Zombies, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of Descendants of Zombies for whatever reason that you're a fan of Descendants of Zombies, because Descendants of Zombies is cool. I mean, I've loved zombies so much that I took my chance on living in a residence near a soda plantation and a chemical plant that could explode in any given moment. I know that sounds really crazy and really messed up, but I mean, in order for me to record videos about Descendants of Zombies, I should not only talk about Descendants of Zombies, I should live my life with the whole Descendants of Zombies experience. You know, guys, if I could live in a Romanian castle like they shot Descendants of Zombies with, I would do that for each and every one of you. Come to think of it, I would shoot videos inside this Romanian castle and share with you my predictions on Descendants of Zombies. Because the reality of life is, and you're saying to yourself, hey Jonathan Clarke, you got lots of money, can you build Romanian castle and shoot videos for us, but Descendants of Zombies? I'll get around to doing it. But the thing is, I've always loved showcasing Descendants of Zombies for what its true worth is. And I've always believed that people like Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner, if anything, deserve more of a chance than ever before. Why, you may ask? Because their stories are anything but far from having been told and completed. Because if you've ever believed in anything, you should believe in their stories and what they represented. From the very first time I heard Kylie Cantrell cry in a video, and I watched the video on TikTok about how her political point of view had somehow ended up in a conversation, I wanted to do something about it. And I wanted Kylie Cantrell to know that she was a wonderful person, she was exceptionally talented, and she was so full of and appreciative of life. And she was so appreciative of each and every one of you. And that's why the connection between yourself and Kylie has always mattered to her. That's why she's always interacting with you. She's always engaging with you, because she wants to keep you updated on how she feels and what's happening in her life, because she's a very emotional person. And if anyone in her life would have understood that, perhaps her relationships would have worked out for the better. But unfortunately, they saw her differently than what she saw life. And she chose life. And she chose each and every one of you over everything else going on in her life and around her, because you are what mattered to her. And that's what makes her a wonderful person. And that's what makes you a wonderful person for being a fan of Descendants of Zombies, because as I've said many times, there is nothing wrong with being a fan of whatever you're a fan of. You know, years ago, I was a fan of pro wrestling, and I got involved in the pro wrestling industry when I was 15 years old, and I became one of the most celebrated journalists in wrestling history. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, hey, Jonathan Clarke, that sounds really dumb. Why were you a professional wrestling journalist? I don't know, because I was a fan of it, and I wanted to pursue something. And then I crossed over from wrestling into Disney, and the fans of Disney actually supported me more than they ever did when I was involved with the wrestling industry. So I made the decision to create a YouTube channel on franchises such as Descendants of Zombies to help people gain a greater appreciation for Descendants of Zombies. And I hope that in every video that you may have ever watched, if this is your first time ever watching a video of Jonathan Clarke, there's always a first time for everything. I hope, if anything, this video has made you laugh and it's succeeded in putting a smile on your face, because that's all I've ever wanted to do, is leave you with a smile on your face and in believing that Descendants of Zombies deserves a chance, and things like Descendants 5 with Wonderland and Zombies 5 is going to happen sooner than later, because everybody deserves to believe in these franchises perhaps more than they ever have, and I like to believe somewhere, somehow, I've offered a contribution to making you believers in these franchises more than ever before. And if you're going to do anything at all, for me at least, if you're going to take any bullet for me at all, believe in Descendants of Zombies and know that Descendants 5 and Zombies 5 is coming, and it will happen, because that's the way it's got to be. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I love you guys so much. If you have not subscribed, you're probably going to want to do that, because this is the best Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel in the entire world because of each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your contributions, always hitting subscribe, always hitting the like button, and always sharing with me your thoughts and your stories that have inspired you to be fans of Descendants of Zombies for however long you've been a fan of these franchises. With that having been said, thank you so much for having watched this video.